one off the table, but they were at the very least able to salvage and prevent a 3-game sweep at the hands of the Toronto Blue Jays by winning Sunday's game. So they are 14-2 last I checked.
That's right. So that means shades are off. We start to begin a new streak. So let's talk about it right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Sembrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And email us anytime, mailbag questions, comments, concerns, hot takes, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, it is a Monday show, which means it's time for our takeaways from the weekend. Ulysses, what do you got despite the Rays losing 2 of 3 to the Toronto Blue Jays and the sky falling?
Right. Well, first of all, yeah, the historic run is over. That sucks. We all wanted the 14th win. We all wanted the sole possession of that record, especially because of the whole vitriol, honestly, that the Rays seemed to get, or the Rays fandom seemed to get on anti-social media, with the whole soft schedule stuff. And then you get to the Blue Jays and you lose twice. You lose the series. It sucks. It feeds into their poorly constructed narrative. But yeah, so obviously that sucks, but resiliency, man. It's going to sound like a cliche, but their pitching was not effective Friday and Saturday, walking guys left and right. Their defense was shoddy, not turning double plays, not making the routine play that they had done before. The bats were kind of quiet and kind of cold the Friday and Saturday and did not get their opportunities and cash them in. But Sunday was completely different. And Christian Bethancourt said that on Sunday's game, they played like when they were on that run. And it's 100%. The defense was sharp. The pitching did its job. And the bats, they cashed those opportunities in. I think one of the biggest things that I am really happy about is Shane McClanahan's 2023 season. And I like that he has been kind of struggling. I like that. Because when he struggled with the Nats, when he struggled with the Jays, right? And I'm missing a team. The Red Sox.
Yes.
He still put up a very effective line. And that's the cliche, right? At top of the arm rotation, if they struggle and they can still give you a quality start, that's when you know that, they're that A word, which I'm not ready to use.
Right.
That's what he's showing in 2023, man. And if he keeps doing that this year, I'm just gonna have to give him the A word because he's doing that type of stuff. And I'm loving that. So that's really my big picture. The resiliency of this team to come back after what was definitely a very somber Friday evening and then a Saturday hungover of that Friday to come out on Sunday the way that they did. Very admirable.
Yeah, that's huge, especially because you're riding the high of 13-0 and then to lose a game and then lose another game to a division rival. It's like, at what point are you able to come back and find your momentum? Because I would think that winning streak, you're running just off of adrenaline and energy and just you're feeling things that you've never felt before. And then when that first gut punch happens, how do you recover? How quick does it take for you to recover? And it took the Rays pretty quickly. A couple bad games, get them out of your system, then win Sunday before you go out on the road. So I think, if there was one thing that concerned me about the winning streak was like, once it ends, how far does this team fall in terms of the depression and like, how do we get up for a game? What we don't even know what it's like to lose. How do we handle that? How do we deal with that? So I think that is very telling and very important there. And I'm glad you hit on Shane McClanahan. I'm calling it right now. I know I mentioned it last week. He will get 20 wins this season. And to your point, there's very few starts where a pitcher, ace or not, is going to feel at tip-top shape, is going to feel like they have their best stuff running. Like maybe a handful of your 30, 32 starts are going to feel that way. It's the other 15, 20 starts where you're feeling a little groggy. You're feeling, 75 to 85, maybe 90%. How do you grind through and deal with that? And that's a big marker there. It's how do you how good are you when you don't have your best stuff or when you get into the grind of a season? And the big thing for Shane, of course, is being able to keep it up for a full season. Are you going to have that first half that is terrific and then the rails come off a little bit because of exhaustion and stamina and you've never done it before? I'll be really curious to see how effective Shane is, assuming he stays healthy when we get into August and September and October. Can he keep it up and that was the question coming into the offseason for a lot of guys. For Drew Rasmussen, how can he handle a full workload again? How can Jeffrey Springs handle a full workload again? Same thing for Shane McClanahan as well.
Yeah, and the way that the game started on Sunday with, I think it was walk, single, single, you start to, okay, this is going to be a rough one. But to be able to just put a tourniquet on it and still provide 6 strong innings, I think he retired 7 in a row at a time. That just shows, again, the growth. So, yeah, obviously the biggest question is, can he do it for a whole season? Right now, he's looking fantastic. 4 starts, 4 wins. So
yes.
if I think a lot of Locked On Rays listeners would side on your side of the bet with 20 wins or over. I'm still going to go under, just because the way that wins are operated in 2023, but he's looking really, really well. But
and it goes without saying, let me add this too, a very, very dangerous, strong Blue Jays lineup that is very right-handed heavy. So that's another factor too. I mean, when you've got to start the game and you're right off the bat, man, I've got to start with George Springer, then Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero. That's a tough way to start a ball game.
And by the way, their fourth hitters match happened. Like, when does it end? It's really tough. But talking about pitching, Kevin Cash, after the game on Sunday, they asked him, were you worried that Shane McClanahan had to give you 6 innings because your bullpen is a little bit tired, you haven't had any days off? And he kind of shrugged it off, and I was surprised. I thought he would be like, yeah, definitely, what a good job by Shane and giving us some length there. Didn't want to use some guys that I didn't want to use, but he didn't say that. He was like, no, I was completely fine. We got some work out of the bullpen, completely okay. That threw me off because that means that either he was saving face and he didn't want to say, yeah, our guys are tired, we haven't had an off day, or everybody was wrong. Every reporter and every person on Ray's social media that was saying, like, oh man, he really needs to give us length, was wrong. So do you have the gauge there on what Kevin Cash was trying to maybe, say?
I have no idea, quite frankly. I did not hear those comments. My just first inclination and first instinct is, I mean, the bullpen basically had a 2-week break. They hadn't been tested for 2 weeks all that much. So, I mean, the guys that they've been using the past couple of days, this isn't more long relief like Yanni Chirinos and Josh Fleming. I mean, I don't see, again, I've not paid any bit of attention to social media or this necessity that Shane has to throw 6 instead of 5 or whatever. So I don't have a hot take on that whatsoever. I would think that the team roll, because the complaint the first 2 weeks of the season is the bullpen's not getting used. Nobody's getting work. And now guys are getting a little bit of work and people are freaking out. Like, what's the deal? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was very Seinfeld of you. What's the deal with the bullpen not getting work?
I mean, Chirinos, Fleming, it's, I don't see like some crazy usage here.
I don't understand it either. But
I mean, if you have that big of an issue, call up somebody from AAA to weather the storm for a game or two.
And I guess that's what we're about to see on Monday. As we're recording, I don't see any new moves being posted, but maybe we do get a little bit of movement on Monday or for Tuesday's game against the Reds. But yeah, no, again, just to close it out, resiliency. They really showed that they can get back up from the mat, which is really nice to see from this team, especially if they're going to do it for the next 145 games.
Yes, it is the long season, folks. Let's remember that. We've got more to discuss. I'll give my takeaway as well, and then we'll briefly discuss the upcoming series against the Cincinnati Reds. But Ulysses, first, we have to tell the listeners about something very important.
Yes, and that very important thing is Pro Baseball GM, which is the coolest game that I've played in a long time. I'm not a big cell phone game guy. I used to be, but once the grays start coming, you stop downloading games. But I did download this one, and it has been so fun because I've always wanted to be a GM. I know Kevin has. I know that you who are watching this and subscribing on YouTube probably have dreamed of being a baseball GM. And you can do that with this game because it allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise. Okay, you can hire the right coaches and staff, you can scout and draft the players, you can help facilities become a little bit more new age, you can do free agency, you can do it all. So today, Locked On Race listeners, you get a 100% free boost to your franchise when you use the promo code LOCKED on LOCKEDON in the game store. So make sure to check that out and download the game either by going to probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or you can look it up on your app store. I would do the latter. It is 2023. So Ultimate Baseball GM, start your dynasty today.
All right. My big observation or takeaway from the weekend is we saw a very familiar face in a very different uniform, or I guess kind of similar color scheme, if you will. Kevin Kiermaier, first time we got to see him face the Rays in regular season ball, and it's weird. It's bittersweet. Good for Kevin Kiermaier getting that 1 year, $9 million deal, feeling wanted again, feeling appreciated again, because I think, and myself included, that the Rays fan base sort of maybe in a way soured on Kiermaier because he had the big contract. He was the quasi face of the franchise. He was the face of the franchise, and he just could never stay on the field. So I think there's a lot to be said for him getting a change of scenery, getting a new start, a fresh start, and seeing what he can do where, yeah, you maybe face the Rays and you want to show them up a little bit, but you also get to have the Red Sox and the Yankees be your rivals again as well, which I think counts for something. But being able to see Kevin Kiermaier in an opposing uniform, he just seemed in good spirits, and he's playing well right now. I mean, it's not very often we see him smack a fastball between the shortstop and third baseman, and then he's executing double steals, and his numbers, obviously, they're not going to stay on this track right now. He's got a 417 BABIP, so that is, with the lack of walks and, Kiermaier isms, Kiermaier being Kiermaier, he's going to come back down to earth. But, I've got nothing but love and good vibes for Kevin Kiermaier, all that he's been through. I hope that he's able to stay healthy and not hurt the Rays too much. But it is interesting to where I think with him, he's able to, there's not that, yeah, he comes in to be a veteran leader and veteran presence, but the pressure and onus isn't on him necessarily to, you're the $50-60 million guys, so you gotta carry the load here. No, you can settle in and bat 7th, 8th, or 9th, and you can let Vladdy Guerrero and Bo Bichette and Matt Chapman and Alejandro Kirk and George Springer, all these other guys, do the damage and get the attention, if you will. So that's just sort of my comment there is Kevin Kiermaier in another uniform.
Well, hashtag Indiana bump, of course.
Yes.
It was odd seeing him, but I guess it helps that it's still blue. I don't know if you get the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. It matches
been an orange
mystique.
Yeah, an orange or red. You're like, this seems odd. But being it blue, it makes a little bit more of a camouflage, into normalcy. Dude, he's playing the heck out of this season so far. Like you're saying, he's running well, hitting the ball hard, making extraordinary plays out in the outfield. Especially the way that the game ended, that was really funny too. With that double play and Jason Adam and the couple wows that he threw at Jason Adam. That was fantastic. He had his hands
on his hips.
Yeah, it was very Kiermaier. Cameras are on me. I'm gonna just have fun with it. But yeah, very cool. Very cool of just to see him. I hope he has a lot of success. Like you said, not with not against the Rays, but I hope
Yeah.
he has, one of the best years of his career. He can stay healthy. That's for sure. But I love what you said about not coming in having to be the guy, even though he is the guy in a certain way.
Right.
He
He's
was
the
brought.
guy defensively and the guy to maybe bring a winning culture together, but it's not like, hey, you're the face of the franchise, but you're always hurt. It's
Yeah,
it's very tough. To me, it was very tough to stomach Kevin Kiermaier being the big contract that literally I've said it 10 times already, face of the franchise, and then you're batting 8th in the order.
Yeah, it's not common to be the face of the franchise and you're hitting 8th. That's for sure. I don't know how many other franchises would do that. But regardless, yeah, I feel like what you're saying, coming in and having to be the guy in the clubhouse, he can do that easily.
Yes.
That's the strength of his. Be the guy with the glove and speed. Yes, he can do that. He be that guy. Put him in a situation where he's going to succeed is exactly that. Not put him above 7th. Have him hit 8th, be 9th. Put some speed on the bottom of that order. I think that's fantastic for him. I hope he has a tremendous season. I don't know how Rays fans might feel about this. Maybe they're a little bit more edgier and less nice than what we're being right now. And they're like, nope, he's in the opposition right now. I want him to do horrible. So I want you guys to tell me on the comment box how you feel about Kevin Kiermaier. Do you want him to have a good season, like we're saying, but maybe not against the Rays? Do you just not care anything about what Kevin Kiermaier does in his life? Like, I'd like to hear your opinions on the comment box.
And maybe that's part of it too, is, hey, once you're no longer a Ray, we just don't care about you, even though you spent, the bulk, all your entire career with one organization. And he was really the guy that helped lead and bring back the winning culture to the Rays as well. So, that's just something to observe. And just like every year, I'm very curious to see how many games he plays, how long he's able to stay healthy. If he gets to 120, 110, 130, whatever it may be. But that was just my comment. It just seems like that's a really good fit and role for Kevin Kiermaier, where that pressure is kind of behind him in some sense. There's pressure on him to be a veteran, but there's not pressure on him when there's runners on second and third with less than one out and you got to knock one in.
Talking about pressure and talking about knowing your role and how you can succeed better at it, if it's a more better position for you to succeed, I'm going to switch it up a little bit and mention 2 names, Taylor Walls and Vidal Brujan. Boy, they look completely different than 2022, folks. And that's good. That's good.
Right.
That is tremendous news. They look like different ball players. Why? Because they're being utilized the way that they should, as bench guys, as role guys, not as like, hey, Taylor, we're going to need 400 plate appearances from you. Like, that's not the way to use Taylor. Again, last year they were, their hands were tied. They had to use him for 400 plate appearances, but hopefully they don't have to do that this year. And then you can get the most out of Taylor Walls. I mean, he is running like a demon out there. I love the aggressiveness. He's got the wheels to do so. He's hitting the ball well. Vidal Brujan, again, utilizing his speed. Now it's like at least 4 times this season where he's legitimately like chopping the ball towards third to give himself that running start to get to first safely. I'm loving that.
Yeah.
Know your role. Be self-aware. And he's being self-aware right now, and I'm loving that from both of them.
Ironically, I'm glad you mentioned that and tying back into Kiermaier. He was probably actually defensively outpaced by his cohorts, Dalton Varsho and George Springer, over the course of that season with some of the plays that they made. But of course, Kevin Kiermaier he already has had his highlight reel moments as well. So I'll be very curious to see him going forward. If I had to put a marker on it, I would think he probably plays fewer than 120 games. But now if he comes out and plays, 145, 150 games, I'm going to be pissed. Because we've been waiting, 8 years for that. But if it's a typical Kiermaier season, maybe not typical in the sense of, hey, he only played 65 games, but somewhere between 120, 100, 110, 120 games, then I can live with that. But if you start playing 145, 150 games, I'm going to have some problems. I'm going to reverse everything I said about Kevin Kiermaier.
I
Because
don't
I also
think
have the prop bet that Jose Siri will have a higher WAR this season than Kiermaier, though that prop bet's not looking so hot right now.
I don't think you'd be the only one, of Rays Nation who would be pissed if Kevin Kiermaier pulls off a 140 game played in 2023. Like we would all be
he's
a little
on a
bit
1-year contract, so you're playing for that next contract. I don't know if it's a
True.
team option. Well, regardless, he's playing for that, that next year or next contract, whatever it may be. So there's some onus on him to do that and stay healthy as well. All right, we will wrap things up with a brief mention of the upcoming series against the Cincinnati Reds. But first, we have to tell you about our new sponsor called So Rare. So Rare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next level competitions and rewards. So head over to sorare.com/locked on. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/locked on to start playing today. Well, the competition against cellar dwellers continues for the Tampa Bay Rays with a 3-game series on the road, correct?
Yes.
I believe it's on the road. Yes, on the road in Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark. It's a bandbox, folks. We'll see what happens. The Reds are 6-9 right now, last in the division, not surprisingly. If you look at some of the preseason projections, Pacoda, for example, had them at 66 wins. You just look up and down the roster, you probably say and look at yourself and say, this is a team that's going to win 65, 66, 67 games, somewhere around there. I mean, if you look at their lineup, I know that they've actually been putting together an offensive outburst, but that lineup is not it doesn't necessarily bring, I would think, a lot of joy and fanfare if you're a Reds fan. I mean, the other day against the Phillies, they had somebody named TJ Friedel batting second, Jake Fraley, former Ray, batting third, and cleanup Jason Vossler, fifth, Will Myers, former Ray as well. The Reds are going all in on Will Myers. He's their face of the franchise, while Joey Votto is on a rehab assignment. But
67 wins.
Reds, they're not a good team. I'm sorry.
67 wins. You are feeling really happy and giving on this Monday morning because
I'm just going with what Pacoda projected.
Pacoda is very happy too. I don't see 67.
Think about the division though.
Fair. But look at that roster. They had a better roster last year, didn't they? I mean, I don't know,
Yeah, again, the Reds, I mean, they're part of that 5, 6, 7 year rebuilding.
Forever rebuild.
And their pitching is just absolutely garbage right now. They have the 6th worst team ERA in baseball. And if you go to their team website, like the first thing that says is, pitching struggles continue. And this is an opportunity for, again, we don't like to get ahead of ourselves and say sweep, but this is a team that you should handle very, very easily, even with it being on the road. I would think that the Rays should easily be able to scoop up 2 of 3. Although, again, you look at the pitching matchups and you see Jalen Beeks versus Hunter Green, TBD versus Nick Lodolo, and TBD versus TBD. Elephant in the room, the Rays are missing 3/5 of their starting rotation in Glass now, Springs, in Eflin, and this week, I would not be surprised if another position player or pitcher goes down.
And, obviously, I think we would see some Tosh Bradley during this
Yeah.
series. Maybe
This would be a good
Torino.
series for Taj Bradley. This is a good,
Yes.
this is a nice, hey, let's get Taj Bradley on the confidence train here.
Yeah, some ego boost.
That, as opposed to the Blue Jays, let's see him go against the Reds.
And he did very well against the Red Sox, who have a potent lineup. So let's give him a little bit of a Reds treatment here. Man, I want to point out two things. Number one, sandbox. The Rays have hit at least a home run in every single one of their games in 16 games. Sarah Lang said that they need 4 more, I believe, to get the record of most home runs in a row for all the games played. So that would be kind of cool. Guess what? You have 3 shots at a very gettable park to hit a home run in Cincinnati. So that's one of the things. Number 2, the guy they're facing on Monday evening, Hunter Green, has the talent to be terrific. I mean, the stuff is unbelievable. It's video game like. He has no control of it.
Right.
He does not know where the heck the ball is going. I think he has a 1.6 whip. Every 2 innings, he's going to give you a walk. Can you be patient enough in the race lineup to take a walk when you want to do damage? That will be, and if you are, then with the bases loaded, men on first and second, then you can really pick for your pitch and do some damage there. So that's hopefully what we're going to be seeing against Hunter Green, is that lineup being a little bit more patient and then getting him on the ropes and then capitalizing because he's going to give you opportunities. Hunter Green will give you opportunities, and there will be self-harm opportunities. So hopefully the Rays can do that, man. I'm excited about seeing this team maybe get another streak on their belt, because after the Reds, they get home and they face the Chicago White Sox. And I feel good about the Chicago White Sox. I think that they're just forever underwhelming. I don't care about the roster. That's why you have to play the games on paper. That's why we play the games on this weekend, right? Did it not look like the Rays on paper were better Friday and Saturday? They did, and they lost both games. They lost both games, and then on Sunday, Manoah's going. He's a stud. He's a Cy Young kind of candidate for the AL. Boom! The game ends 8-1. That's why on paper does not matter. You have to play these games. So hopefully, when the boys play these games, they have a little bit of of a chip on their shoulder, because let's not forget that this team was swept by the 2022 Cincinnati Reds last year. Swept. Okay. So hopefully they can return their favor in 2023 with something like that. I won't say it, but something like that.
And I think with being patient, it's Wander Franco and Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau that should and will set the tone with that. And I'm glad you brought up Hunter Green, because he does have amazing stuff. I mean, the fastball, it's average is 100 miles an hour. He's dialing it up to 101, 102, 103. But stuff is just one part of the equation. It takes a lot more than just pure nasty velocity to have staying power and be an effective big leaguer. Again, I'll take you down to the complex league and find you a dozen Dominicans throwing 99, but they don't know where it's going. So, which, I mean, brings about its own challenges for a hitter too, as far as, that in a way that could even be tougher if you've got a guy throwing that hard, but you don't know where it's going. That's, kind of makes you a little, loosey-goosey, if you will. But yeah, so
remember,
that's going to be something to watch out for sure.
Remember Enny Romero?
Yes.
Big, tall lefty. Could just throw the heck out of the white baseball. Where is he now? He couldn't control it.
That's the thing with Jose Alvarado too. I mean, I obviously he has had some staying power as a reliever, but the guy was.
That's where you can go. Yeah, that's where you can go. You can go the Enny Romero route and hey, I had the stuff, but you never were able to command and control. And now you have Jose Alvarado, who basically has gotten, I think it was an insane stat I read, 85% of his outs made were strikeouts. Something dumb. Like, yeah, like if he's gonna get you out, he's just gonna strike you out. It's been crazy. So yeah, that's the way you have to command or control. That's the fork on the road. So that let's see what happens with Hunter Green on Monday evening.
And with Hunter Green, he's got good enough stuff where he doesn't even need command. He just needs control. He doesn't have to be Greg Maddux with the command or,
Sure.
pick your poison with whoever it may be. So that's another thing to watch out for as well. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Every dayers, listen to us tomorrow. We'll have more. We'll recap this Monday night game against the Reds. Hopefully a W for your Tampa Bay Rays. Thank you again for listening to us. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.